Thomas Harriot visited the Roanoke colony, well, at least the second attempt of the Roanoke colony, and that's where his brief and true report comes from. It's sort of his observations of what happened there, what's going on there, a description of the natives, and in a lot of ways it's intended to be sort of marketing material to promote the idea of colonization. As we know now, Walter Raleigh's Roanoke colony was not a success, and you can see a few reasons why that might have been the case, written up in the Thomas Harriot's Brief and True Report. He seems to downplay the dangers of the natives. He indicates that maybe some of the settlers don't treat the natives as well as they should, and that gives you somewhat of a clue as to probably what happened along the way. He describes Indian culture. He describes their ways of war. He spends some time talking about their language. He spends a lot of time talking about their religion and really going into a lot of depth on that and trying to come to terms with it and understand it. And you can think the reason that he does that is because religion is, a huge part of these people's lives. Even though Thomas Harriot is Thomas Harriot. Religion is very important in the lives of all Englishmen. Thomas Harriot was a Church of England. He wasn't a Puritan or a Pilgrim, but still religion is omnipresent in their lives. And so it makes sense that he would focus on this really quirky and unique aspect of the Native Americans, which is their religion. And, of course, also their wonder and their confusion and curiosity about science and technology and the different aspects of that the Native Americans see as somewhat magical. Harriot's significance, I think, is pretty clear. Of course, the Virginia Company, the Virginia colonists followed Thomas Harriot fairly closely in trying to establish what their relationship was going to be to the Native American. So it provides guidance for future settlers. I think they also probably learned from some of the naivete of Thomas Harriot, that he didn't expect that things were going to get quite as bad as they did for the Roanoke colonists. Another thing significant about Harriot is that he really establishes what is the Anglo-American tone towards the Native Americans, towards the indigenous people. And that is that the Europeans see themselves as technologically superior, as culturally superior, as religiously superior, and just they take that stance as a given. And that's the way they present themselves to the Native Americans, and that's the way they, in a way, that's their weakness, is because they consider themselves so superior. They don't really consider the fact that the Indians could ever mount any sort of real resistance, which at various times they actually do. And Smith basically has the same attitude as well. So that brings us to Captain John Smith, his general history, his true relation, his description of New England. John Smith, you'll learn from the introductory materials, that led a incredibly adventurous life even before he came to America. He was a soldier of fortune. He was taken as a prisoner and escaped in Eastern Europe. He basically lived many, many lives in his fairly brief lifetime. He's hired by the Virginia Company basically as muscle. They needed a real soldier, and it's only found out when he gets to Virginia that they considered him someone who should have major responsibility and be on the governing council. The other settlers really disliked him. He was a tough person to get along with. He was very demanding, and they even threatened to hang him about halfway there. His general history focuses on the events that occurred during that first year of the Jamestown colony, the misgovernment of Wingfield, who hoards the supplies to himself, the various political struggles that end up in death in several cases. He's even accused of murder. The men that he takes with him on his first journey journey that gets him captured, he's accused of their, or he's found guilty in their deaths, of their wrongful death. So, there's a lot of political infighting, and so he communicates a lot of that. But he tells it from a point of view that to us seems a bit awkward. I mean, he speaks in the third person. He talks about Smith, about Captain Smith doing this, Captain Smith did that, as if it weren't him telling the story, and it obviously is. That's actually a fairly common conceit of literature at that time. It kind of puts us off, but it's very common. The things that he focuses on, I think, are interesting because they do carry forth those themes of technological superiority, of cultural superiority. The way he describes the beliefs and curiosities of the Native Americans in a way that sort of belittles them. He talks about how they're going to, bury gunpowder because it's a seed that will grow. He talks about the talking paper. He describes how he scares away his captors when they return him after Powhatan has allowed him to return, and he's supposed to be exchanged for 2 great guns. Well, they let those great guns fly, and it scares away the Native Americans, which would give a European reader a good laugh and reinforce this idea of technological superiority. So that even though Smith was basically he could have been executed at any time, since he's smarter and more clever, he's always going to come out ahead.